So we appreciate y'all. You know, y'all kind of like rocking with us and everything. So, but either way, so go ahead and rewind, bro. What were we saying?
Yeah. So first, I was just in short, I was giving a thank you to you. And I looked at 1 million people on YouTube. You were the most relatable. You talk like somebody that I know. And you helped me realize that sales engineer was probably a good path for me based on my career up to this point. The TLDR on my background, while I was still in college, I started out working in insurance sales. I started out doing home insurance sales, banging it out on the phones day in and day out, pushing for sales quotas, trying to be the best of the best just because that's, you know, who I am by nature. Grinded out on the phones until I got burned out. So I eventually took the management route. I was basically a sales manager / project manager / whatever else was needed at the moment. Did that for a few years. And that's how I gained a lot of sales experience by working in insurance sales, where you're literally talking to a new person every couple of minutes and you got to figure out who they are, listen to identify their need, provide us a tailored specific response, many other things. So sales was my background. After I heard you talk about sales engineering, it sounds like what I had experience in, but the lifestyle fit the lifestyle I saw for myself and my family. So that's what made me say, I think I can do this. You spoke highly of Careerist. It's the path that you chose. I looked into it, spoke to a few of their employees, liked what I heard, and I signed up. Honestly, but I've been talking about jumping into tech for years. I signed up for Careerist in December of 2022. December 5th was my starting class. Shout out to everybody from that class. I hope to see y'all right here.
Yo, so for everybody who's listening right now, you're thinking, man, I really want to do what Cyrus Guest is doing to be in tech. Or maybe you've been thinking for a minute, man, I want to be a sales engineer like Cyrus. What can I do to become a sales engineer? Well, I actually want to recommend to you Careerist Bootcamp, which isn't just the bootcamp that I've done and many of my friends and family members have done to break into tech, but they also offer a variety of other roles aside from sales engineering. That being roles like different types of tech sales jobs, including SDR, BDR, account executive, but also something that's in really high demand right now, QA automation, as well as QA tester. Y'all, Careerist Bootcamp, aside from these variety of courses, they have an amazing program that assists you with helping you get a job in tech. With their program, they have two different versions of it. One of it actually aggregates different jobs and companies that are hiring specifically for the role that you did within their course. And that way you're able to just synchronize and go through and apply to each of those roles yourselves. But also they have an automated version of that also within their JAS program, or JAS, Job Application Service Program. The reason why I made a separate video to talk about them is because they made a lot of updates in their program, including hiring a crap ton of more mentors and coaches to be able to assist their graduates with being able to get a job, being able to interview better, essentially giving them all of the tools that they need to be able to break into this dope industry. Apart from that, they've also made some adjustments and tweaks within their classes and courses, providing more assistance, having more instructors, ultimately being able to service each of their students better. Careerist actually allows our audience to get a $300 discount on top of every sale they have going on. So if you go to their site right now and they have a sale going on, if you use our link, you will still get a $300 discount on top of any sale that they have going on all the time. Listen, y'all, I definitely recommend you check them out, and please let us know if you do Careerist and when they help you break into tech too. So I want to pause real quick because I heard you say something, and I want to make sure that I'm keeping up with everything you're saying. So I know that you had mentioned, and also thank you. Like, I know you said that I get it a lot where people like thank me for the information, but I never get used to it. Like, it always means a lot to me, you know, because at the end of the day, it's like really about at the end of the day, it's really about helping people. It's like I share this all the time with people that the number is different for everybody, but at some point you reach a level where like money doesn't really make, like making more money doesn't, like once all of your needs are met and once you can kind of vacation and you can drive a car you want to drive, at some point making more money doesn't make us more happy or more fulfilled. And so the thing that does make me more happy and more fulfilled now is really just helping people and being able to give back. And so I deeply appreciate you, really just you being willing to come on, you being willing to like give everybody like your story, your testimony. It looks like you got a lot of your people here tuned in right now too. Somebody's like, hey James. So
was, man, he's a comedian.
Yeah. Hey, look, we got some tech events coming up in the future. I mean, if he's funny, we might need him to come perform for everybody. So, but yeah, bro, no, I appreciate you for coming on, because not everybody's like willing to come on, and not everybody's like bold enough to come on. Some people are kind of like, yo, I'm good. So thank you for coming on. And so so I know you mentioned, so you said that before you were working in insurance, which is crazy. Like when I pursued being a sales engineer, my backup was that I was like, yo, I'm gonna give it a year, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna go ahead and work at an insurance office for like 2 years and then try to open up my own insurance office. I did not want to do that at all, but I had a homegirl that she had her own State Farm office. She still does to this day. And she kept telling me to come on and telling me how I could open up my own office. But I saw how many hours she was working. I saw how grueling the work was. I was like, yo, I do not, like, I'm cool with working hard, but I'm not trying to like work to where I'm stressed, you know? And so, yeah, so I pursued the tech industry. And so it's interesting that you're like, you were in insurance, but then you were like, yo, you decided to get out of that industry. So I want to ask you really quickly, because again, I didn't work in insurance. I'm only familiar with it in terms of seeing my homegirl work in the industry. Why did you want to leave? Because a lot of people that want to get in tech, they want to get in tech because they don't have a career, or they're in like a trash career. But a lot of people are like, yo, insurance is a great route to go. So why did you want to leave working in insurance to get in tech?
In short, to make the type of money that is easier to make in tech, I had to work really hard in insurance. The company I worked for had a base salary, and back when I started in 2015, my base salary was $35,000.
Oh, that was at the insurance company?
That was starting, yes.
Okay. And they said that was 2015.
That was 2015. Yeah.
Okay.
That same company pays a little more now at the base, like 45 base or something like that.
Okay, so from 2015 to 2022, which was last year, because you just started your tech job this year after doing Careerist. So from 2015 to 2022, your base pay increased to $45,000?
No, so it's a little bit of a background to that.
Okay.
So in 2015, I started out, my base pay was $35,000, right? In my first full year working in insurance, I hit 6 figures, but it was based on incentives. Like I had to do unlimited OT for like 2 months. And I had to work at least 60 hours a week at that time. That was a part of like on instruction, whatever. I hit 6 figures in my first full year. I fell just short of 6 figures in my second full year being an insurance agent. And after working so many hours, I wanted to go into management because I work in an inbound call center. So I'm taking in calls. And when you're good, you take in more calls. So it's nonstop. I got burnt out doing that very fast. Therefore, I went into management. Now, management technically paid less. My base pay may have been around like 75.
Yeah.
But there's no bonus based on performance. You only get like annual bonuses there.
Oh, so it's like, so you technically work less when you're in management and insurance. Like not less hours, but like you might not have to work as hard, but now you lose that compensation, that extra money.
Exactly. That was my position with the particular company that I worked for. So the lifestyle was a little better, but I wasn't able to just bang it out for more money if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I actually did that. I was in management for around, I think 2017 or 2018 to 2020. Mm-hmm. And that's actually when I stopped working in insurance. Pandemic hit, the company went in a completely different direction. That company is in the news now for the way they handled that. Yeah. It's a big deal. If anybody works there that's on this live, I'm sure they could guess what company I work for. It was great while I was there, so I won't say anything bad, but the company has changed, and I just saw it before.
Sheesh, it's good you got out.
Absolutely.
Man.
And I've always been an investor. Even while working a 9 to 5, I've always explored different ways to make money. I've been in real estate for quite some time. I've been a stock market investor. I do stock options, which anybody that knows about it knows it's risky, but I figured out a way to be pretty good at it. So I've been able to maintain, even from 2020 to end of 2020 to 2022.
Yeah.
I was working for myself, and I also had that crutch of knowing I could work in insurance whenever I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how it's already clear. I'm sure y'all can see it too. And those of y'all that are on here, y'all see me looking over here, see him looking off screens because we're streaming on YouTube and LinkedIn as well. And so, but it's very clear to see, like, you're the type of person that is so incredibly perfect for this industry, you know, because even though I always tell everybody tech is dope, it's the only people I would say the tech industry just really isn't for. It's typically people that aren't very hardworking and they're not like very competent. Not that you have to be a genius or be smart, but like you can't be like a straight up, you know, like sped. I'll say that. I don't know if the video will get flagged for me saying sped, but whatever. So, but seeing that you have the type of mentality, like I hope y'all like basically are listening to what he's saying. Like you can see that he was already a go-getter where he wanted more. He wanted a lot. And I see Naj just hopped on _Naj. Same thing with her. She broke into tech doing one of the boot camps I recommend. And her and I have known each other for years before she even got in tech. And she has a very similar mentality to him, where it's just like a very go-getter, very driven mentality. But one of the things that bro, you're saying that you mentioned is how even that's kind of crazy. Like that same mentality allowed you to hit 6 figures in insurance one year. But then because of the type of grueling work that it is, the following year you made less money instead of making more, and then you shifted over into management, and you're kind of like moving around and maneuvering a lot. You're taking your money, investing it, and clearly you're looking at, okay, what can grow my income? What can scale? Like you're not sitting back chilling, trying to just let stuff happen. You're like, no, let me be proactive as a man and figure out what I can do to scale and grow year by year. And so right. at what point, not necessarily timeline wise, but what was it that happened that you said, you know what, I need to go ahead and transition and get into the tech industry?
Absolutely. And just to circle back, I didn't make 6 figures working at Geico, but I did make 6 figures that year.
Okay. So it was working at Geico and other things as well?
Exactly. And I just realized I name dropped the company. Here we go.
Oh, dang.
So I did make 6 figures at my 9 to 5, but at that point, I was at a point in my life where I was realizing that I needed to diversify.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make all of the money that needed to touch my hands by just simply answering the phone all day, every day. However, the biggest shift for me that made me jump into tech, honestly, I witnessed my fiance do it. And child, I know she was.
Shouts out to Babe.
That's right. So she is like big on like manifesting and kind of planning out what she wants her future to look like. A lot more than me. I'll wake up and just jump into something. She's going to plan it ahead. She's type A. So she's had a bachelor's degree since forever. Got her master's degree in 2022 in project management, and immediately went into IT project management like that. At the beginning of the year, she said, I want to make 6 figures in tech. Let me figure out how I'm going to do it. She got a master's degree and immediately got a position after that, making more than what she even set out to make.
Love it.
So after you see firsthand somebody go through and grind it out to get exactly what they want, I can't just sit here and keep talking about it.
Yeah.
I got to do something at this point.
I love that. Man's got inspired by wifey.
And it's so crazy when you see somebody say, I'm going to do all of these things this year, and they do every single thing that they said they were going to do. It's That's like, I have no choice but to say, okay, what can I do to even amplify what I'm already doing?
Yeah.
You know, I say I'm going to work out. If I don't jump up and run a mile in the morning, go to the gym, whatever, potential doesn't mean anything without the action that goes behind it.
That's dope. That's how relationships should be, where it's like we're inspired by one another, whether it's friendship, whether it's romantic relationships. You know, I think too often, it's like a random sidebar, but I think too often, y'all let me know if y'all agree or disagree, but I think too often what we tend to see today is that either sometimes one partner will start excelling and then they'll start to look down at the other partner and be like, oh, I don't want to be with you anymore because you ain't on my level, you know, or the opposite. The partner will start excelling and then the other partner will start hating or will start being bitter or will feel like, man, you doing too much, or will start getting jealous. And I love the beautiful dichotomy between you and your woman, where she went after her dream, she had a plan, she plotted it out, she did it, she became much more successful, even more than even what she intended to in the tech industry. And then instead of her looking down on you as a man, you know, she just allowed her journey to inspire you as a man. And instead of you being bitter against your woman, and instead of you being insecure, instead you allow the inspiration of seeing your woman go after being in the tech industry, and you allowing that spark to be like, yo, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna like pursue that as well. I think that's like low-key fire, not even low-key, that's high-key fire, just really between both of y'all. Like, that's dope.
Absolutely, and it's still happening. I told you she got a master's degree last year, got the position she wanted. She recently got her PMP certification, which means more money in her field.
Yeah.
Now there's a position that I'm currently applying for, where I know that there are certifications that can make me a better candidate. So now it's my turn to ramp up what I'm doing, so I can do that.
So I love it so much. So you're not just in the, like, you got in the tech industry, and instead of you, I mean, you've only been in now, and we're going to get into it, but you've only been in now for about half a year, only 6 months.
Just about, yep.
And for you to already 6 months in, you're already thinking of the next level, like how you're going to level up further in the industry. Y'all, this is literally what I talk about when it's like, don't just break into tech and just chill out. It's like, if you're really like low-key, like you and your fiance, y'all are gonna kill it, because just y'all's mentality, and you're grown, I know you know this already, but I just get excited whenever I'm talking to people that are like y'all, where it's like you just get it, it clicks. You're not like, oh, I'm just trying to get to this you know, tech job and just chill out. It's like y'all are constantly thinking like greater and greater and more. That's like fire.
Absolutely. And funny enough, I always told myself I would never go back to school unless I had a specific target at the end.
Yeah.
She went for her master's degree, and I guess ultimately she had a specific target, but I can't see myself getting a master's degree unless there's an end goal that's very specific attached to it. Because, you know, school, I was good at school, but school wasn't necessarily my strong suit, if that makes sense.
Oh, it wasn't mine either.
Because I could make it through anything, but I'm not going back to school unless there's a direct goal attached at the end.
Yeah.
But when I learned about tech boot camps, specifically sales engineer boot camps, I'm like, I gotta do this. This is gonna have a specific goal at the end. So I went through that, hit the goal even earlier than I anticipated. Now with the certification that I'm speaking in reference to, it's more tech specific. I'm not the most tech savvy even now.
Yeah.
I know more than I may have known before, but when you start to talk about the fancy terms, I'm going to Google, I'm going to Chat GPT, whatever, to figure out what I'm talking about.
Can you rewind that back again? Just that first sentence that you said about the being tech savvy.
I can help you set up your iPhone. I can help you set up your computer. The moment you start talking code.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I wanted you to repeat that, and I wanted people to hear that. I say all the time, you do not have to be tech savvy to work in this industry or to even excel in this industry. It's like a lot of y'all, I say this often, but I know it's always new people popping in, new people checking out. And also, obviously, we got people from James community on right now. And it's like 47% of jobs in tech are considered non-technical roles. And it kind of sounds like a contradiction, but it's like there are jobs in tech, almost half the roles in tech that are available, you don't have to be tech savvy. I've been in tech now for almost 2 years, worked at several tech companies now, am a founder of an AI startup, Octoply AI, and I'm still not tech savvy myself. I just do the things that I'm good at, that Careerist taught me, and that I've like continued to learn and scale up along the way.
Looking for a job in tech can be tricky, but what if there's a way to automate the entire process? That's where Octoply.ai comes in. See, this software does all the work it takes for you to get hired, from researching companies to scheduling interviews, and all you have to do is just show up. Octoply.ai is the first application of its kind that will find jobs that you're top applicant for, apply to roles, reformat your resume, and manages interviews all while you sleep. So if you're tired of the tedious job search, try Octoply.ai today and let technology work for you.
Congratulations on the launch of your company as well.
Oh yeah, thanks, bro.
Definitely want to check that out when I get a chance. Hopefully tomorrow. But when I learned about your podcast and I started to dig into your information that you provide, you helped me realize that. And I have a ton of sales experience, right? I feel like that's my competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm.
The company that I applied to, they pretty much skipped the whole interview process because I did so well at their sales testing.
Yeah,
So
that's fire. That's incredible.
So I knew that I could lean heavily on my sales skills.
Yeah.
I taught these things, so I know that I can apply them.
Yeah. So is the company that you're at, is it like a fintech company? Like what type of tech company is it?
So we provide essentially like third-party services to a bunch of different fields. So we work in like auto, EV, military, private defense, a bunch of different sectors. But we pretty much help with like rollout for a lot of different things.
Okay, cool.
I gave specific examples before, and somebody DM'd my CEO asking him questions about it, and he was like, that's under NDA. So I try not to go into like deep details, but
you don't have to like share anything too exclusive. That was just more of a curiosity thing, because the reason why, because when you had mentioned, so obviously it's beneficial to have like a sales background into being a sales engineer. Unlike tech sales, it's not a necessity, but it's very beneficial. And I love, but you touching on, you leaning on your sales background. One of the things that I'm always talking about is the value of transferable skills. Shanae is here on the Instagram chat. She talks about it a lot. Her being a recruiter at Microsoft, the value of you leaning on those transferable skills and highlighting those during interviews. So I think it's dope that during your interview that you highlighted those transferable skills and how that like benefited you in a huge way.
Absolutely. Now, I try to point that out to people anytime I get a chance to speak with someone. Obviously, I haven't been in this space forever, but I do know what I know coming into this space.
Yes.
I've been in positions where I've been able to interview and hire people, even though I'm not an HR professional. I know what to look for in good employees or strong employees, coachable employees. So when it comes to transferable skills, you have to figure out, what do I have in me right now that would make me good for any position that I could jump to, or any position that I could apply for within this field.
Yeah.
I may not be the most technical person, but I'll bring everything else to the table. All you have to do is teach me the technical piece. And I'll bring everything to the table.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was talking to this dude yesterday. This is like we were doing a one-on-one, and he's in cybersecurity. He's been in cybersecurity for about 7 years. And he wants to transfer over to, he was either considering being an account executive, which is a tech sales role, or being a sales engineer. So we were doing a one-on-one, and I was talking with him. And one of the things we were talking about is we were discussing whether or not he needs to do a boot camp. And I gave him 2 different scenarios, and I was like, okay, well, because you're already in cybersecurity, I said, you're already in tech, and you've been in tech for a while. I was like, you might be able to lean on your technical transferable skills. Now, he was the opposite of you, where he has no sales background or experience, but he has a lot. He's a cybersecurity, so a very technical dude. And so it was kind of like, again, like the opposite of you, where I was like, okay, well, you could apply for some roles. It'll be harder. Like, you could still get a job, but it'll be significantly harder without a boot camp, because you have no sales background, but you still have a technical background. So I was like, but if you do overlay a boot camp on top of that, and I was like, if you want to be a sales engineer, I would recommend, Careerist, like what you did, what I did. I said, if you want to be a sales engineer, I would recommend them. I said, and then you will have companies going crazy to hire you, because now you have the technical acumen and you have the training as a sales engineer. And I think, like with you, the dope thing is that you had that sales background and you had the training from the boot camp to now understand what the world of the tech industry is like, not from a technical standpoint, but just from a culture and also understanding the role of a sales engineer. That was
The biggest thing I got from Careerist is what does it look like to actually be a sales engineer?
Yeah.
I could speak a lot of the language already in terms of sales in general, right? So I've been in sales for 8 years at this point. Really more than 8 years, but by definition, 8 years. So getting into Careerist and going through the boot camp, it shows me how could I apply what I already have in the form of being a sales engineer. Because before Careerist, I could get in here and talk about how to talk to customers, how to speak to a C-suite, all of those different things.
Yeah.
But I couldn't relate it to how that directly applies to being a sales engineer. Then it's pointless, right? I can sit here and talk sales all day. If an insurance customer came on this live right now, I could sell an insurance policy like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
That's irrelevant to being a sales engineer.
Yeah. I'm happy that you're talking about this. As you were talking, I started thinking like, it would be good for people to know how just because you have sales experience, that alone doesn't mean you know what it's like to be a sales engineer or like you understand the world of it. But you're already starting to talk about it, but I'm just happy that you are.
Right. And I started Careerist on December 5th. And I started applying for jobs even before Christmas because as I started to learn from the trainers and the previous students that were coming in to like chalk talks and stuff like that, I started to realize I might be more prepared for this than I initially thought I was.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be in Careerist learning about Python and all of those other things. And I'm like, I realize I don't necessarily need those things.
Yeah. No, you don't. No. So some companies want a sales engineer that knows Python and knows coding languages, but there are plenty of companies that don't require that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I very, easily found out of jobs that did require that when I applied.
Same.
Just as honest with myself as me. When it's like, you must know XYZ, not for me.
Yeah.
Not at the moment, at least. If I want to continue to grow, maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Right now, not for me. But I started applying for jobs as soon as I felt confident that I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't apply to many jobs, to be honest. Maybe 10 or less before I started getting interviews. Got an interview with the company that I'm with right now. The first interview was supposed to just be like it's a very small company, 100 employees. The first interview was supposed to be get to know the management team, and we'll see where it goes from there. We'll explain the company to you, see if this is something you can see yourself doing. I talked to the manager for maybe 10 minutes. He was like, hold on real quick. And this was in person. The company's right around the corner from the house. He went into a different room, came back with the CEO and all of the management team. He's like, do you want to just do a board interview now? Like,
So they just had you skip, just like, yo, we about to skip you ahead.
Yeah, he's like, there's no point in doing the demo. We hear how you talk.
Ooh.
I scored like a 97 out of 100 on their sales assessment when the average score is around like 70, I believe.
Yeah.
I scored like a 97, so they're like, we're not concerned about that. I came into the interview and identified my biggest opportunities for learning the new positions. They were happy about that. I already came in knowing what I need to be better at in order to be successful at this company. So they were happy about that. The board interview was pretty much just figuring out, am I a good fit for you all, and are you all a good fit for me?
Yeah, culture-wise, like, all right, like, do we actually want this?
We went back and forth asking each other questions. And when I left, the sales manager who was supposed to be interviewing me, he texted me and was like, everybody really likes you. We hope you're ready to accept the position.
Oh, that's fire. What was that experience like, or that feeling like when they had said that?
He was kind of texting me to the side, so he's like, keep this between us, but you have the job, basically.
Yeah.
And it was a feeling of relief, honestly.
Yeah.
After hearing people like you and some of your guests say, yeah, I had to grind it out for 3 months.
Yeah.
Some people 6 months, a year. I was mentally prepared for that.
Yeah.
But I think anybody who has the opportunity to progress sooner would jump on that opportunity.
Exactly. Big facts.
I was prepared to grind it out. And like my fiance is fully supportive of everything that I do because she trusts that I'm making the right decisions. And I knew that I was going to reach the goal that I wanted in the end. I just didn't know what the end was going to be.
Yeah.
So I was ready to grind it out. And luckily, my grind ended in 2 to 3 weeks versus
That's
3 months more.
great. Look, that's so wild. Because similar, like, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but yeah, same thing. I had a mentality where I say, yo, and I was just at a point of serious desperation. So I was like, yo, I'm going to give this at least a year. I'm going to apply, interview. I'm not going to give up at least for a year. I didn't really have anything to lose because I was broke already. But I was like, I'm at least going to give this a year of my time. And so, of course, it took me 2 months. And at the time, I think there might be one other person that got hired faster than I did as a sales engineer. But you're definitely the fastest hire that I've interviewed. Because like you said, you started the boot camp December 5th. You finished the boot camp when?
I can't remember. Was it like mid-February? It's like 6 weeks, plus we had a holiday in between.
Oh, yeah, because when I did it was 4 weeks. So they did make it a little bit longer. So,
yeah,
okay.
It was 6 or 8 weeks. I got thrown off because, Christmas and New Year was in between there somewhere. So.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
and when did you start at when did you get the offer letter for your tech company? When did you get the offer letter, or when did you start? Either or.
technically, I got the offer letter the first day after the New Year. So whatever that first weekday would have been, that's when they sent the offer.
Oh, so it wasn't even. So I'm misunderstanding. It wasn't even a month after the boot camp. It was. So you were still in the boot camp process.
Yeah.
Bro, that's wild.
Yeah, and my start date was technically February 1st. The only reason I started February 1st is because my fiance planned a vacation. And I told my job, like, we're going on vacation at the end of January. Like, do I start now, take a couple weeks off, then come back? They're like, you can start whenever you want to. They're like, you want to start tomorrow? Start tomorrow. If you want to start after your vacation, start after your vacation. So yeah, I believe February 1st was the day after we got back from California. So that's when I started officially. But I got the offer. I got a verbal. I was told I was going to get the offer before Christmas. I got the offer, whatever the first weekday was after New Year.
Hey y'all, we have some incredible news that I'm super excited about to finally announce our private tech community. Yes, you heard that right. A private tech community exclusively for you all who want more than just the podcast. You want more than just the FAQs. You want to talk with tech recruiters. You want to talk with hiring managers. You want to talk with coaches. You want to talk with people that can help with editing and rewriting your resume. Maybe you're somebody where you just want to be a part of a community where we're talking about updates of what's happening in the software industry. Y'all, this community that we've launched is also going to involve a Discord where we're going to be talking about updates in tech. We're going to be talking about companies that are hiring. We're going to be talking about upcoming tech events. So that way you don't have to miss any of the gems that I know, but not even just what I know, but the gems that friends of mine that are also in the tech industry know as well. So if you want to be a part of that community, go ahead and sign up so that way you can join us. We have a few different tiers. Ultimately, it's all tuned in for you. Oh, and last thing, also within this community, we're going to be streaming all of our interviews with our podcast guests. So instead of you having to wait months to watch the videos later on, you'll actually be able to watch the interviews in real time and ask your live questions to those guests. So make sure you join our tech community. So y'all, we're gonna get to the live questions in a couple minutes. I wanna ask him a couple more questions about his journey, and then we're gonna get to the live questions. But there is one question that I just saw. So make sure those of y'all that are on Instagram right now, make sure you're putting your questions down in the question box below. So that way we'll be able to get to those. For those of you, for those of you that are over here, that are on, LinkedIn, on YouTube streaming in, make sure that you do have your questions prepared to drop them once we're ready to get to the questions. There's one question I see on here really quickly that I would love for us to address, where from Deborah, she said, all right, so she's asking, do you believe that you could have became a sales engineer? Basically, would you have been able to become a sales engineer without doing Careerist? The second question she asked, I'll answer the second one because I definitely know this, because I can't speak for you and like your story, but I know the second one, she's saying maybe a teacher background going through the back door. So I will tell you, Deborah, that no teacher is going to be able to like walk into the tech industry or apply to be a sales engineer. And 9 times out of 10, you're not even going to get an interview at a tech company if you just apply. As I'm not saying you're a teacher, but just using the example that you gave, if someone's a teacher and that's all they have and they're applying to get a sales engineering role, most companies they're not even going to show up to even be able to get an interview, let alone getting the job. Because again, it's not just you applying, it's not just you and the company, it's you versus all the other candidates that are applying. And all the other candidates are coming with some level of acumen, whether it is a boot camp or whether it's a college degree, like some type of tech college degree, or they have a lot of connections of people that work at the company, or they have a work history or experience. Maybe they've already been a sales engineer. So someone coming off the street that's just a teacher or that's just a car salesman or just whatever, it would be, I would say 99% chance that they're not even going to get an interview, let alone them getting the job over all the other candidates that are applying. But we'd love for you to answer the first part of the question, James, where she asked, do you believe you would have became a sales engineer had you never even done Careerist?
With me personally being who I am, I think I would have, but I think it would have been a much longer plan. I learned from Careerist more in-depth details than the podcasts that I watch, the influencers, the pages that I follow, stuff like that. Careerist was a little more strict to the point, giving me more in-depth information of what a sales engineer does and how they operate on a day-to-day.
Yeah.
So with me being who I am, I think I would have eventually done it, but I feel like I went directly to the source to teach me a little bit better and help get me there faster. Even if faster wasn't less than a month, faster, even if it took me 3 months, I think 3 months would have been a shorter time frame to me figuring all of this out through trial and error. Because more than likely, I probably would have figured it out through feedback and interviews or, whatever other forms. I think I just took the faster route to figuring out what it takes.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say that's one thing I will say is different between us. I would not have gotten a job. I wouldn't have gotten anything. And so, but I do agree with you. I do believe you because I can tell that your mentality is even further ahead than where my mentality was when I was going to get a job in tech or when I was doing Careerist. And so I think part of that is just because I could just tell like just your level of like structure, just all the things that you did, and then also again just the partner that you had and still have now, that being beneficial as well. But yeah, and also I told people I applied to try to get in tech before I did Careerist for almost a year. I didn't even get an interview, and that's why Deborah, I can kind of speak to what you were saying because people don't know this. I was trying to get in tech for a very long time and wasn't even getting an interview, and so yeah, so I needed it. But like he said, there are some people, some of y'all are like James, where maybe you don't need a boot camp to get in tech, but do you want it to take a year or do you want it to take 3 months or 4 months? It's really kind of up to you in that sense.
And honestly, I have kids. I have a lot of kids, so I can't just be out here playing with their lives, you know.
Yeah.
I've been a hustler for a very long time, and I can figure it out. But having a stable salary is definitely helpful on top of my entrepreneurial endeavors. There's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur and having a 9 to 5. And that's where I am in my life right now. That 9 to 5 helps provide for I have 4 children, and my oldest is 5 years old. So this is one of the most vital times of their lives. They live a much more comfortable life than I did at their age, and that's what's most important to me. I can't be out here playing with their future.
So someone asked about the salary. I will say that usually I stray away. Like lately, I've started straying away from asking people to share how much they're making. The reason why is because I've interviewed people at this point, several people they've accepted salaries as low, and this isn't low, but this is very low for the tech industry. I've interviewed people that have accepted starting salaries as low as like 65,000. And I've interviewed people that their first job in tech, they started out over $160,000. Both of those are rare occurrences. Like the odds of somebody getting something starting at $160,000 is very rare, but it happens. The odds of someone accepting something that's like 60 or 65 is pretty rare, but it happens. So I'm not gonna ask you to share yours because again, y'all, what he got is not indicative of what you will get. That depends on the company you're at. It depends on what you negotiate. It depends on several factors. One thing I will ask you, because I am curious, is it at least similar or more than what you were getting when you were working in insurance?
Base pay a lot more.
Oh dang. Commission
structure or bonus, OT, whatever. I won't give exact numbers, but I make 1.5% of all new business because I'm at a small company.
Okay.
And when it goes over $1 million, I make 2% of all new business.
Okay.
The month of June, so far, I've closed $500,000 in new business.
Oh.
So
you on track?
Enough on that, and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's good for where I am right now. I'm 6 months in. The position that I'm currently a candidate for has a much higher base pay, a whole lot higher base pay, more than I've ever made from a 9 to 5 ever in my life. So that's going to be a huge accomplishment if and when I get it. But like I said, I did $500,000 in new business this month, and I get 2% of all new business because I'm such a small company. I'm technically the only sales engineer. So.
And to explain what he's saying when he says that, y'all, when he says he gets 2% of new business, when you're a sales engineer, or if you're an account executive, at the end of the day, like as a sales engineer, and I'm gonna minimize what it is he does. He does more than this, but as a sales engineer, he conducts demonstrations or demos for businesses that are interested in his company's technology. So in these demos that he's conducting, or think of it as a presentation, his main job, and I have FAQs for anybody that has a bunch of questions about what the role is like. I have FAQs in my bio. Click the link in my bio on Instagram. Or if anybody on LinkedIn or anywhere else, if you're curious about the FAQs, just hit me up and I'll send them over to you. But essentially, you do a presentation of your company's technology for another company. As a sales engineer, it's not on you if the company buys it or not. No one blames you if the company buys it or not. All you do is the demo. When other companies buy it, which usually happens more often than not, when they go into contract or they buy your company's product, many times, depending on the deal size, and you're an SMB, right? Like you're in a small to medium-sized business. Okay, so he's in small to medium-sized business. There's VSB, which is very small business, SMB, which is small to medium-sized, mid-market, and then there's enterprise. So basically what those words mean in a nutshell, I know you're all like, what does all these acronyms and stuff mean? VSB, and my numbers are going to be a little off. VSB could be a company where maybe they only have 5 to 10 employees, that's why it's called VSB, very small business. SMB, small to medium size, it could be a company that has, maybe 20 to 50 employees, maybe. Then you're talking mid-market. Mid-market is where you get into like a few hundred employees, and then we're talking enterprise. Those are like huge companies, at like 1,000+ employees when we're talking about enterprise. So each company, the deal size is attached to directly how many people are there at the company and are going to need that technology. So when we're talking like SMB, the deal size, especially if we're talking it's being an annual contract or a 2-3 year contract, the deal size could be like a $30,000 deal size, $30,000 deal size. So I'm gonna do some quick math for y'all. And again, this is just an example. But let's say on average that all the deals that he's a part of are $30,000 deals. Now I want y'all to pay attention because this matters when it comes to what he said about him getting 2% at the end of the year. He gets 1.5% already, but at the end of the year, he'll be able to get 2%, not at the end of the year, but if he gets to $1 million in sales or in deals closed, he'll get 2%. Now listen, this is why this matters. Pay very close attention. So if he's at that 2%, if he gets to that 2%, let's say on average, he's attached to, and again, this is just an example, but let's say on average, he's attached to 10 deals that close every single month. Now, this is more than what he's doing, or this is less than what he's doing. But again, just using this as an example, let's say he's attached to 10 deals that close each month, and on average, each of these are $30,000 deals. So 10, $30,000, that's $300,000. Let's say that's for the entire year. That's $300,000 multiplied by 12 months in the year. So that is $3.6 million. If he, using this example, he gets 2%, he already has his high base pay. In this example, in this scenario, if he gets 2% of 3.6 million, that's over $500,000. Now, again, that's a gross example. Him being an SMB, it might not be that much because maybe the size of the deals, it could be more, it could be less. But I hope you understand where in that example alone, that person given that scenario would get over $500,000 apart from their pay just working in tech in general, apart from maybe their stock options, or if the company hasn't IPO'd yet. It's like a variety of different ways you can make a lot of money. So I just want to give that perspective because I know some of y'all are like, okay, he gets 1.5% or he can get 2%. It's like, what does that matter? That matters a lot. That's a huge deal. So I just wanted to break that down for y'all really quickly just so y'all can understand the scope of that.
Absolutely. And like you said, working in a small company, sometimes we have to turn down some big deals, and I haven't been happy about it. Since March, I've had to turn down maybe like $3 million worth of work because I'm
Oh God, dog.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But right now, one of our customers is one of the largest companies in the world, and they are building up like their cloud interface across the world, and we are helping with that. So that's been bringing me consistent work. That's a huge piece of the $500,000 that I hit this month. So.
Oh, yeah, I want somebody just called me out in the comments. My math was way off. Somebody said there's like 2% of 60 million is only 120,000. So anyway, my math was way off. So clearly I just proved how bad I am in math. It sounded good at the first half until somebody was sitting there thinking about it like, wait, let me pull out my calculator. So, but anyway, my bad, bro. Go ahead.
No, that's all good. So we're partnering right now. One of our customers is one of the biggest companies in the world. They're building their cloud interface across the world right now. We're helping with that. So if they keep bringing me $500,000 a month worth of business, that's enough to put me in a nice spot at least.
Yes.
Right there.
Oh man.
So far it's been good. As long as we don't have to turn down any of their work, we'll be all right.
Yo, that's incredible. That's fire. I'm so happy for you, dude. Yeah, crazy happy for you. Look, man. So look, I know you mentioned it. Like the next thing for you is that you're planning on like kind of beefing up your skill set and your certifications. So that way, I'm not gonna say what that is because we're streaming on LinkedIn right now, and I don't know who will see this. So I'm not gonna say what that reason is for. But essentially, that's so you can scale in the industry further and get more money. Yeah,
absolutely. I can strengthen my skill set. Like I said, I'm not the most technical person.
Yeah.
The things that I'm going after are going to make me more technical, so I can be more well versed. Okay.
That's super fire. All right, bro. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into some of these questions. So we're gonna kind of hopscotch a little bit. We're gonna look at some of them that are here on Instagram. Y'all, we're not gonna stay on here too long. We'll probably wrap up at about 9:15 p.m. So we're gonna get to as many as we can. Make sure you are putting your questions down in the question box here on Instagram, and we're gonna try to keep up with the ones that are over here on the chat on YouTube, or not YouTube, but YouTube and LinkedIn as well that we're streaming onto. So let's see something. All right, so we're gonna look on Instagram first. Some of the questions over here. All right, so great question. So first question is from J Blue. I'm not gonna say y'all's names because I don't know. One of y'all asked something crazy, or I don't want none of y'all feel embarrassed. But first question says, like you said, most tech roles are non-technical. Well, not most, but about half are non-technical. But you said that you've seen a lot of job listings where some coding knowledge is required. Do either of the companies you two work for ask for those skills?
My short answer is no. For me, is bring the skills you have and we'll build from there. That's been my experience. And I'm still not a super technical dude. Whenever I go into an office, I sit in a room surrounded by engineers. Whenever I'm not in the office, I send emails out to those same engineers and they answer the technical questions for me.
Okay. Yeah, I agree entirely. So I would say that for me, every tech company I've worked for, the job description said that it was required that I know how to code. They still hired me on, even though I don't know how to code. Guess what? Why did they do that? They did that because once I jumped into the interview, it was revealed that was just something that they wanted, but they didn't really need. They didn't really care about it that much. So understand, I kind of say this joke pretty often. This doesn't apply to every job description, but look at some job descriptions as if it's a person that's saying all the demands that they want in a partner. They're like, they gotta be this, they gotta look like this, have this, have that, have this, have this. But realistically, they're kind of just painting their perfect picture of what they want. But in reality, what they're actually okay with is who you see them actually dating. Tech companies more often than not are the same way, where many times they'll beat things up on the job description just so that they make themselves look like they got these crazy high standards. But in reality, they don't need all of that. So yeah, I've seen roles that say you have to code and you don't actually need to know how to code in order to do that. So all right, next question. That's what kind of question is that? All right, somebody said, do you eat ravioli? All right, so all right, someone asked, they said, I have a background in car sales. They said, are you saying I wouldn't get an interview? I'm assuming you're talking about from what I was saying earlier. You definitely wouldn't get an interview. And I don't mean that to sound insulting. That sounded super condescending. But the reason why I would say you wouldn't get an interview is because there is very little there's more correlation behind James's background in insurance sales than there is, because car sales and insurance sales are not the same thing. Yeah, you use some of the same tactics if it's face to face. You know, you might use the panda hands where, you know, you might try to be passive. You might want to ask clarifying questions. You might want to ask open-ended questions. You might still use some of those same things, but when it comes to what has more similarities, and I know this as a sales engineer, and James would say the same thing, there's much more similarities behind insurance sales in terms of the type of sales as it relates to specifically, I would say tech sales, not really sales engineering, but as it relates to tech sales. But then even with sales engineering, I would say kind of sort of the same thing. But you showing up you applying to sales engineering roles, and your resume having on there that you are a car salesman, you're not going to get any interviews, you know, like, and I would say that confidently. Like, I would tell you that I'm not going to do that. I wasn't going to say, like, I'll like ask you to go out and start applying. And if you get even an interview, I was like, yo, I slide you 100 just to prove me wrong. But I'm not going to like make it no game or nothing like that with your life. But no, I would say no, the company's not going to interview you just with a car salesman background.
I would say you may be a car salesman now, but what do you possess as a car salesman that would make you eligible to become a sales engineer, right? If Cyrus would have came here a couple years ago and said, hey, can I get a job as a sales engineer even though I'm a Lyft driver right now, he may have given himself the same answer. But it's like, what did you do while being a Lyft driver?
I ended up clicking myself out the chat trying to answer questions. I kicked myself out of the chat trying to scroll and look at these other questions to pull up. That's funny.
Okay, I hope whoever asked that question is still here. But it's like, what
oh, they are. That was on Instagram. So
okay.
Yeah.
It's like, what have you done, or what are you doing in your current position that makes you a more eligible candidate? If a boot camp is the answer for you, cool. If whatever the answer may be for you to make yourself a more eligible candidate, do that, right? Well, you heard what I said about the example, using Cyrus as an example, or even using myself as an example. As somebody who knows a lot about real estate, stock options, and insurance, how does that make me a better sales engineer? I went out and did something that made me a more eligible candidate. I'm 100% sure there are better candidates out there for me, but I made myself a more eligible candidate. So when I did get an opportunity, I was able to prove that I could perform as a sales engineer even before I hold the position.
Good stuff. I'm looking at, I don't see too many. All right, here we go. Somebody said it's HR who writes these ridiculous stuff. Basically, yeah, HR will put up the job description, and they might not fully know everything that's required for the role. They're just sometimes they're just theorizing, and sometimes they'll copy and paste from another company's job description for a role, even though their company doesn't require that. So again, that's why I always tell people, I say, and a lot of my recruiter friends might not agree with this, but I always say, do not even look at the job description. Just apply. If you're breaking into tech, and let's say you're not using Octoply, where Octoply can do all the applying for you. It could set up your resume, restructure your keywords on your resume and cover letter, so that way you rank higher and get more interviews. Let's say you're not using Octoply, which that's a non-shameless plug. If you're not using Octoplot and you're actually out there doing the work yourself to apply to all the different companies every single day, I always recommend to apply to at a minimum 10 companies a day, but really try to apply to about 20 or 30 companies a day. If you can't, use Octoplot. But anyway, for the person who can do that, or at least do about 10 companies a day, my recommendation is that in order to apply to that many companies, I would encourage you to not look at the job description, because that'll eat up time. Even if that's 2 minutes, a 2-minute read for every job description, 2 minutes at 10 different, if you're applying, let's say you're applying to 20 companies a day, 2 minutes, that's 40 minutes every day. That's, I'm not gonna keep doing math because y'all already embarrassed myself earlier with my bad math. But either way, I encourage you to not sit there and look at the descriptions. Why? Because one, it eats up time that you can actually be out there applying to other companies. But two, you'll sit there, you'll read all of these descriptions from a company, and 95% of the companies don't even hit you up for an interview. So it's like, why sit there doing all of this heavy research on a company? Wait at least until they reach out saying that they want to interview you before you start doing a bunch of work. So don't worry about the job description, meaning they might put coding that you have to code or be very technical, and that not even be the truth. So it's kind of like, why even focus so much on the description if you're not sure you're going to get an interview, if it's going to eat up time from you applying to other companies, and three, if the description might not even be 100% accurate. Don't kill your time.
I agree with that, and I have high respect for HR folks because they do something that I can never do. I've seen secondhand how it works, and I know that it's not for me, so I have a high respect for it. However, sometimes when you apply for a position, typically the HR round is first, and if you ask questions about the particulars or the specifics of some of the things in the job description, even the HR person is like, I don't know, save that for the next one, right? So sometimes they are going for what the most ideal candidate would look like, even if a qualified candidate may not possess all of those things.
I saw someone asking about, I guess we'll do one over here because we just got to answer a couple over here. So we'll do one over here. So someone over here asked about if Course Careers is good for sales engineering. No, it's not. Course Careers doesn't offer a sales engineering course. Careerist obviously offers a sales engineering course, but Course Careers doesn't. So no, I wouldn't recommend going to Course Careers to be a sales engineer. And if you want a more thorough answer on that, in my FAQs, I have a video breaking down how hard it is to transfer from tech sales to sales engineering. But I break down also how you can possibly do it, but going Course Careers wouldn't be the best route. Careers would be the route that I would suggest. And then also there's like different communities and stuff you can join. Careers has like a community as well, but there's other sales engineering communities you can join also. So a really, really great question though. All right, so, all right. I'm trying to look at questions that I know that you can speak on as well.
Okay.
So, all right, what all did Careerist help you with? So someone's asking, they asked what your resume was like. And I guess one of the questions I would ask along on top of that is, okay, so what was your resume like? And what did Careerist do to help you with your resume? And really not even just your resume, like what all pieces do you remember that they helped you with along your journey, aside from them giving you the understanding and training of being a sales engineer?
Gotcha. So starting with just the resume piece, my resume was very lazy, to be honest. Like I said, I only used it in the insurance industry. I took a couple of insurance jobs in between before going from, sales management to careerist, sales engineer. So it's very lazy. My resume just showed I have sales experience, I have insurance experience, I have the license, I have the certs, hiring. That's pretty much what my resume was. Because from 2020 to 2022, I only had a resume in case I needed to put money in real estate or insurance. So it was relatively lazy. I knew it wasn't the best it could be. Even when I cleaned it up, when I went through Careerist, they helped take my sales experience, my transferable skills, and make them speak the language of a sales engineer.
Yes.
That was the biggest difference. I really have to lie on my resume. I feel like that's like a trend these days.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I've even seen some people wonder if that's what. Some people wondered that about Octopi, or they wondered that about Careerist, and it's like I love that they don't lie on the resume.
Right. Yeah. I didn't have to lie on my resume. I just changed the language of some of the things I did, and then did some of the obvious things like quantify, be more specific, talk more about actual goals that I obtained, actual change that I made within companies, things like that. But I made it relevant to how that would apply in the role of a sales engineer. It was mostly a mindset shift. I hate not being able to provide like quantifiable things that say they gave me X, Y, and Z, but it was really just a mindset shift. It was how do I take my mind from sales manager, project manager to sales engineer.
Yeah.
The instructors there were really good at kind of breaking down how they are in their roles. And that kind of made me realize what are some of the things that they do that I know that I can do now.
Yeah.
That was the biggest difference for me, honestly. The actual tech piece, I can definitely still be better to this day. I didn't learn as much as I probably could have from Careerist, to be honest. Once I got a verbal offer for a job, I was trying to help my classmates out more than I was actually receiving information.
What I'm curious, when you went back into Careerist to finish up the course, what was everyone's reaction when they found out you had already gotten an offer?
Well, most people didn't know who I was because I was quiet most times.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there were a lot of people who were like naturally more vocal, and I only speak up if I need assistance.
Yeah.
Like if I don't understand something, then I'll have my hand raised, or if I had questions on like talk nights and stuff like that, I would raise my hand.
Would you consider yourself an introvert?
It's selective. When there are other people who are extroverts around me and quiet, there's no extroverts, then I'll be the extrovert.
Yeah.
So
I was asking that because somebody asked that in the chat. You can be an introvert and be a successful sales engineer. You don't have to be an extroverted type of person.
I always listen before I speak. That's who I am naturally, for the most part. My fiance will tell you different. She'll tell you I don't stop talking.
I mean, that's Beto. You're going to keep talking to her.
I don't talk to anybody else, so she got to get all of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot where I was going. Oh, yeah. So in Careerist, most people didn't even really know who I was.
Yeah.
They voted for a valedictorian. I'm like, how are y'all going to not vote for the person who got a job before the class is over? But it's because I was quiet.
Oh, yeah. But did you announce to people, like, did you announce that you got a job?
Yeah. It was a random chalk talk. I raised my hand. Charles was like, James Etheridge has a question. I'm like, well, I don't really have a question. I just raised my hand to let y'all know that I just accepted an offer for a job. And everybody's like, what? And then I got 90 follows on LinkedIn. You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
I just came out of nowhere with it. And, obviously I was happy. I shared my experience, what it was like. Unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot that I could share because my process was pretty straightforward. But from there, I just tried to be a resource to my classmates as much as I could be, even with me being at entry level to the profession. So
I keep seeing a few different questions of asking how to transition from a certain role into sales engineering. So again, I have FAQs that explain this, but it's very unlikely. I'm not going to say it's impossible because it's possible, but it's very unlikely to transition from an SDR, BDR role to a sales engineer. The reason why is because that would both be considered a promotion and a lateral move over to another department simultaneously, because the pipeline is not SDR, BDR to sales engineer. It's SDR, BDR to account executive, which is not the same pathway as a sales engineer. But it's easier to transition from account executive to sales engineer because that's a lateral move. So it's like usually at a company, you can either get promoted up or you can transition over. But to try to get promoted and transition over it's very unlikely that will happen. So, but again, I have in my FAQs, I do give tips how to become a sales engineer. Like if you're already in tech and let's say you don't want to do careers, you don't want to do a tech boot camp, I mentioned the FAQs how to do it if you want to avoid that route. But also I mentioned that if you're in tech already, your company more than likely has what's called an education stipend. where basically your company will give you the money for you to do a tech boot camp like Careerist or others, so that way you can then be able to get that promotion or get that certain role in your company. So look into your company's education stipend if you're a SDR at a tech company. All right, so we're gonna do a couple more questions. I'm gonna get a couple over here on Instagrams. I appreciate you again for coming on, bro.
And no doubt, man, I appreciate you for giving me this platform. I try my best to be more active on social media, but I'm nowhere near as good at it as you are. So I tell people all the time, hit me up on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most responsive. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see like a meme on my story a month. So follow me if you want to, but you ain't gonna see much.
That's funny.
And I want to be a resource to people, right? Like within like small groups, Careerist. I've joined some Discords where I try to help people out as much as I can. I want to do that. But you have a lot more patience than I do. You answer way more questions that aren't as friendly or favorable than I probably would answer platform as you. So I do want to be a resource to anybody that can use it. So please hit me up on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most responsive.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So I definitely have a lot of cheat codes that a lot of people don't know about that makes it easier. Like one, before I even hired VAs, so I have virtual assistants in my DMs and in my comments that help me answer a lot of questions, and they go from like the FAQ sheet that I have. But even before I started hiring VAs to help with that, I have on Instagram, they have this feature to where you can type in a word, you can choose a designated word that automatically an entire like paragraph or 2 paragraphs or something that you predetermined will come up. So it used to be at a point before I hired VAs, and I'm not exaggerating, y'all. Like what I'm about to say is gonna sound crazy, but I'm not exaggerating. I used to almost every single day after I finished working as a sales engineer, every evening, I would sit down, and I'm not exaggerating. I would do like an hour where I would sit on my couch watching a TV show, and I would look at DMs, and if somebody asked me a question, 9 times out of 10, I already had like formatted answers for every question, because you always get the same 15 questions usually. And so I had a formatted answer for each one. All I would do is I would look at the question, I would click the talk to text button, and then I would just say a word. So if somebody asked me about, I want to become a sales engineer, what's the best route? I would click the button, I would say Careerist. As soon as I would say Careerist, the whole 2-paragraph thing will come up, and then I would just hit send. And then I go to the next DM. Someone like, oh, I want to do this thing. Or they want to say, what are transferable? Whatever the questions were, I would just say a word. It will pop up. I'd hit send. And I would do that for like an hour, take a break, continue watching my show. And after 30 minutes, be all right, let me get to some more of these DMs. But I eventually decided I needed to hire some virtual assistants to help, because even though I was doing that for about 2 hours a day, one, like you mentioned, I was getting burnt out. And 2, there were more questions than I could even answer, even in 2 hours, almost every single day. So of course, y'all know I started the podcast, Tech is the New Black. Money started coming in, and I took that money and started investing it into other things, resources like my virtual assistants and other things that could help people without me having to spend 2 hours every day sitting in my DMs. So now I spend probably about 30 minutes every day in my DMs, because I like talking to people and stuff and helping people, and also making sure that that my VAs are doing everything proper, which they always do a really good job. Anyway, that's the stop. That's just basically to say, like, you probably do just as good as me if you had the resources and things that I'm using. I ain't no Superman. I don't want nobody to think I'm a Superman.
God bless you. That's
all right, so we're gonna do a couple more questions, and I'm gonna let him go. This man got life to live. All right. Oh, that's an interesting question. So someone asked, what advice would you give to a beginner looking for a mentor in either tech sales or sales engineering?
I personally, honestly, have been seeking a mentor, not aggressively, because I've had a bunch of moving parts in my personal life, so I wouldn't want to waste anybody's time by not using somebody as a resource if they provided themselves as a resource. Something that I've seen that seems to be common that people say works is paying for a mentor. There are people who accept payment for their mentorship. And you could probably answer this question better than I can, because I don't have a mentor do seek that. I just haven't actively pursued it because I know that if I was in a position where I would be wasting someone's time if they dedicated to it, so I wasn't quite ready yet. But I've heard of people paying for mentorship, and just in general in life, bringing something of benefit to a relationship with a mentor is something that's going to be beneficial. One of my good friends is a music producer. He's a producer on a pretty decent scale. And he always mentioned whenever he goes to a bigger artist, he brings them an opportunity. He doesn't just come to them and say, hey, can I make a record for you? Or can I DJ for you? He brings them an opportunity. And after he brings them an opportunity, they're like, thank you for the opportunity. Now, what can you do? Right now, they're interested in him because he brought new business. So I think that may be a good way to approach it just in general. As far as a tech mentor, I haven't explored that yet. That's something that I do need to look into.
That's good. So yeah, I would say that if you're not in tech already and you want a mentor, yeah, that'll be pretty tough. That would be pretty tough to get a mentor if you're not already in tech. I would say, so there's different types of mentors. You can have a direct mentor. You also can have an indirect mentor. And there are a lot of indirect mentors out there. Indirect mentor basically means people that are putting out, whether they put out a book or they're putting out YouTube content, they have a podcast, whatever it might be, where you can basically get the education you need through looking at their answers to questions, or looking at their resources they've already provided. So more often than not, people think that you need someone to answer each specific question. That's not always needed, or you need someone to handhold you. That's not always the case. So I would say one, look to indirect mentors. Two, I would say, and that's actually funny timing. Somebody literally just scheduled a one-on-one with me. So you can do one-on-ones. So I do personal one-on-ones. And also other friends of mine that are in tech do one-on-ones. But that's not really mentorship. That's more so coaching. So staying on topic. Another route that I would say is, so let's say you're in tech. So I'm talking about if you're not in tech. If you're in tech, it's usually very easy to get a mentor if you're getting mentorship from someone that's in your company, that's in your org. So if you're a sales engineer, or if you're an account executive or SDR, whatever it is, whoever it is, it doesn't have to necessarily be like a manager of yours, but someone in your team or in your org, it's usually easier to get them to be a mentor, because the more successful you become, the more successful, depending on how they have the pay structure set up, the more successful they become. Because many times in certain sales engineering or tech sales roles, many times it's kind of like a rising tide raises all ships, where if you start performing better as a sales engineer, I might get a little cut of that. If this person a little better, it's like we all kind of win. And so yeah, but either way, usually tech companies, people that are working in tech companies, people are like usually pretty helpful for the most part. The people want to be a good resource and have a good reputation within their company. So I have my only mentor that I have in tech. I have two mentors, but it's not for my role in tech. One of my direct mentors, one of my mentors he's a kind of an indirect mentor of mine. His name is Ruben Harris. He's the founder of Career Karma. And he's an incredible business dude, doing amazing things and helping a lot of people get in the tech industry. And then I have another mentor who's the same thing, indirect mentor, where just like James said, he and I exchange resources constantly. So, but that is Jared, my homeboy Jared. He's actually been a guest on Tech is the New Black, where he teaches on networking. He is so skilled when it comes to networking and adding value. And he will tell you, like if you ask him, he will tell you that I mentor him in some ways in terms of like him making content on social media. But he mentors me when it comes to like networking. Every time I see him, he's introduced me to new people in person at tech events, people that are like big dogs, and I probably would never even be able to have a conversation with had he not done that. So again, going back to that piece that James mentioned, that adding value. And the way that happened was he reached out to me, asking me for some stuff, and I was like, bruh, I need a lot from you. And then we were just able to have that value exchange. So that's always a very important thing. So one way is you increasing your value in a certain area and exchanging that value for value someone else is offering to you. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. I'm gonna let you get off here, James. I'm gonna stay on probably just a little bit longer. I see a bunch of different questions. Some of these are already in my FAQs, and some of these are just kind of like really kind of quick answer type of stuff. But bro, I thank you so much for coming on here, dude. man, just like, oh man, like you really gave some really good nuggets, just straight up, especially you talking about some of the pieces that you mentioned in terms of like just obviously your mindset, even you sharing the story with you and your fiance. Congratulations on that, by the way. I didn't even say congratulations earlier. Yeah, man, that's super, man. Well, okay, last question I have for you. What was her reaction when you told her, baby, your boy, I'm in tech now. Your man is in tech now too.
So it's funny. Obviously, the short answer is she was excited, but I applied for 2 different positions. Mm-hmm. Both positions were actually offered to me. I didn't even reach out first. One of them was for Cummins, huge company. It was like it was like a mid-senior level position. I think with OTE, pay was like $250 or something like that. For whatever reason, they saw me as a good candidate. They reached out to me. The company I work for now reached out to me at the same time. So I applied for both positions at the same time. So when I came to her, I'm like, hey, I got that position I told you I applied for. She thought I meant the Cummins position. So she's like, you starting out there? And I'm like, well, not that one, but. So, I mean, she was definitely happy for me. She's been deeply invested in making sure that I have what I need to make it in this field. So it was a win for both of us. She was super excited, and I think we were both somewhat surprised at how quickly it happened, but not surprised to that much because we knew that, I was going to do what it took to make it.
Yeah.
And actually, before I go, I have a question. Recruiter Cousin, who I follow, and I refer people to your content all the time, by the way, if you're still here. In the comments, she said that you should have a mentor and a sponsor. So learning moments for me, what would be the difference between the two?
We both have to ask her because I don't know what that means by sponsor.
All right, cool.
The only thing I can think of, and again, we'll have to check with her on this. The only thing I can think of when it comes to sponsor is only thing I can really think of is that maybe she might be referring to someone that is, I don't know, maybe sponsoring you in terms of like recommending you to be at their company, or recommending you to, like someone like Jared, for instance, like I mentioned earlier, he's connected to so many different tech companies where he's a bit of a sponsor, where if someone needs a job, he has a network where he can like usually like send them to a bunch of different companies or pitch them to a bunch of different companies, or I'm a bit of a sponsor as well. I don't promote this too much because that could get kind of, I'm not trying to turn into the person where everybody reaches out to me to try to get a job at a tech company. Right. But there are times where like friends of mine that I have, it's usually someone that's already working in tech, where like I had a homeboy where I think he was working for Dell, and he got laid off from Dell recently. Or no, he didn't get laid off. He heard whispers that layoffs might be about to happen. And it just made him uncomfortable enough that he hit me up and said, hey, Cyrus, could you like hook me up with somebody? Or I'm looking for this type of role. And I sent him, I like shopped him to a few different people that I know. And right away, like they were like, oh yeah, we got him. They said, look, if they'll lay him off, we'll bring him on and we'll pay him even more. He's good, straight up. So and again, that speaks back to the power of networking. Because again, I'm not the only person who does that. You networking in this industry, y'all, like you building up your network. Even if you're in tech, that's why I say don't just get in the industry and just chill out. It's like go to tech networking events, get into community. So that way, if you end up at a company where the company is doing layoffs or something happens, or you want to scale quickly and make a lot of money, it's like having that network will be incredibly beneficial. But again, I'm theorizing that's what she means by sponsor. But yeah, I'll definitely ask her too. So we'll have to check.
You got to answer in the comments there.
A word? Was it Shanae? Oh, bet. There we go.
Thank you, by the way. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. So Shanae says, not necessarily selling you to multiple companies. So let me. That's a referral. Okay. She says your sponsor is pretty much going to say, promote him because, oh, yeah. So someone within your company that can be like a cheerleader, or specifically, I guess the term is a sponsor. So yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's dope. That's dope. Yeah. So y'all make sure that y'all are actually like being kind to your coworkers and talking to them and stuff and all that. So don't just show up to the meetings and just be having your camera off and stuff. trying to build some rapport.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's it, man. Thank you for having me on here. The primary reason why I was so interested in doing this once you offered me is because I do want to be a resource for people who are coming into this field. Obviously, I reach out to all the resources I can if I'm going to need them. Obviously, I could be better at it, so I want other people to be better at it as well. Use me however you see fit.
That's fine. Thank you so much, James, for coming on, bro.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Congratulations again, dude. And so, I'm curious to see, like, I guess, like, what happens next with you. I think are we connected on LinkedIn?
I believe so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I followed you as soon as I listened to your first podcast.
Okay.
So,
let me make sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we are.
I want to do this before I forget. Blah,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
You're permanently.
Oh yeah. I'm permanently what?
Out of Atlanta now. You live elsewhere now.
Yeah, I'm in Miami. All right, so I just sent you a connection request now. So I'm in Miami, but my lease isn't up in my spot in Atlanta until a few months from now. I'm thinking about renewing it. I don't want to be paying for here in Atlanta, but the podcast, we shoot the studio. A lot of people don't know this. We shoot the studio in my second bedroom in my spot in Atlanta. It's just I turned the second bedroom into a whole podcast studio. And so I'm kind of going between, like, would it cost more money to fly my team out every time we do a podcast recording here? Or would it cost less for me to just, like, would it be better for me to just me go to Atlanta and just keep the spot there in Atlanta and we be able to do some things there, maybe Airbnb the spot out or something. I don't know, I'm kind of wrestling in between, but for the most part, I'm here, but I'll be in Atlanta every now and again.
All right, I don't want to take everybody's time for my personal things, but I'll be in Atlanta like 2 or 3 times before the year's out. That's all.
I'll bet.
I'll reach out to see if you're in town whenever I'm out there.
Yeah, and tell me why you're going out there too. Like when you hit me up, like tell me why you're going, because if I can find an excuse to go to Atlanta, I'm trying to do more tax write-off stuff. Or I'm like, yo, I had to go to Atlanta because of this thing. I'm trying to do more of that.
Well, it's mostly family related, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll make something work. But I'll let you know ahead of time. I know you're a busy man, but I won't take any more of anybody else's time. I'm going to have some more questions on this thing, man. I appreciate it again.
Bet, broski. All right, man. Have a good night.
I'll talk to you, brother.